Right, this is your lesson for multiple variable linear systems. You will use back substitution to solve linear systems in row echelon form. Use the Gaussian elimination to solve systems of linear equations. And then for the honors, you're going to solve a non-square system of linear equations. First, this is what a multiple variable system looks like. Now we had two variables, x and y, and two equations. Now we're going to have three variables and three equations. Okay. So when you have two variables, you basically have a line like x minus 2y is equal to 9. But once you put in another variable, you actually take that line and you spread it out. When you spread it out, you get a plane. So now we're talking about three planes and how they interact with each other. First, if they are going in all different directions, there's going to be some place where they're all going to touch and meet, and that's your one solution right here. Okay? Here's the first equation, the yellow one, it's going to make a plane. The green one's going to make a plane. And the red one's going to make a plane. And somewhere, they're going to come together and to a point. You have no solution when all three of them don't meet in the same place. Like if they're just all parallel planes like this, like three sheets of paper, they'll never touch. Or there's kind of like this cardboard thing where not all three of them touch. The green one touches the blue and the yellow one, but the blue and the yellow one never touch. So this is also no solution. Now, you have infinitely many solutions when all three sheets of paper are, or all three planes are on top of each other, like this. So everywhere they have something in common. Or if they line up like this, everywhere on this line is going to be a solution. Okay, back substitution. This is the one that we like. So it should look like this when we're doing a back substitution. And this is what we call an echelon form, row echelon form. If you have these three equations, we can actually, they'll give you one for free. X is equal to, Z is equal to 3. You can back substitute that 3 back into here and put 3 times 3. And then you can get y, right? So you can solve for y like that and get negative 3. Now you have both z and y, and you substitute that back in here, and you can solve for x. Okay, doing that, we're going to get all the way down to 2. So now my final answer is writing it in alphabetical order, x, y, z. X is 2, y is negative 3, and z is 3. Okay, this is easy when we have it in row echelon form. So you want them to look like this. Well, what happens if they're not in row echelon form? You see this triangle where you have only one thing down here, only one variable, two variables, and three variables. Okay. So here's one. Do this one, and then we'll try and do one that's not in row echelon form. Okay, I hope you finished that. So I know that z is 2. Putting the 2 back in here, we get 8. Subtract 8 from both sides. Y is negative 1. Put the negative 1 in the 2 in here, and we get x is equal to 1. So my answer is 1, negative 1, 2. All right. When it is not in row echelon form, we want this to go away and these two to go away. So we only have this information over here. So we're going to try and get rid of this first, all right? Or we can rearrange these if you want. But I guess I'm going to try to get rid of that. So I'm going to call this one equation 1, equation 2, and equation 3. First one, second one, third one. And instead of writing all this stuff all the time, the x and y and the z and all those equal signs, I'm just going to write the coefficients. Some people think it's confusing because they've never seen it like this before, but if you just look at it like this or try it a few times, this is actually easier than writing everything out. So I'm trying to get rid of that 2 and the negative 5 and the negative 1. Okay, we're trying to get rid of those numbers. Now, when we're doing that, these won't remain the same, right? Because then they won't be equal. I can't just throw these away. So I'm going to take the first one and add it to the second one. I can do that because I can see that when I add those together, I can get rid of this x term. And then I'm going to put it in the middle. Okay? I'm going to add these two and put that in the middle. So I leave the first one alone and the last one alone. I leave equation 1 and 3 alone. Add these two together and create a new equation 2 and put that in the middle. So 1 plus a negative 1 is 0. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. 3 plus 0 is 3. And 9 plus negative 4 is 5. So we're kind of partway there. Now I want to get rid of this 2. So I can get rid of that 2 by multiplying the first one by negative 2 and adding it to the third one. So if I multiply this one by negative 2, this way negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. 4 plus negative 5 is negative 1. And negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Plus 5 is negative 1. And negative 2 times 9 is negative 18. Plus 17 is negative 1. So now we have that. Now we just have to get rid of this one right there. Okay, so I can do that by adding the second one and third one together and putting it down here. So now if I add 1 plus a negative 1, I get 0. 3 plus negative 1, I get 2. And 5 plus negative 1, I get 4. Now I have my row echelon form. Now putting this all back together, I can solve the z. Here would be 2. Back substituting like the one we just did, I get 1, negative 1, and 2. Okay, you try this one and pause the video and come back to it when you're ready. All right, hope you finished with that. These get a little tricky and this take a lot of practice, so there's quite a few examples here. That's why the video might be a little long, but if you're good, you can start skipping some of them, but make sure you can do them by the time you get to the end. If you can go through these, at least 2 of them all right, then you're good to go, okay? But if you're struggling with them, you still need to practice. All right, so I need to put this in row echelon form, so I need to get rid of some of these. So I'm going to first write it as just the coefficients of the numbers, and I want to get rid of those. So let me see here, equation 1, equation 2, equation 3. I'm going to multiply the first one by a negative 2 and add that to the second one. So negative 2 times 1 plus 2 is 0. Negative 2 times 1 plus negative 1 is negative 3, and so on until you get negative 1 and negative 9. Now how would you get rid of that 3? Well, logical thing to do is multiply the top one by negative 3 and add it to this one. So when you do that, you'll get negative 2, negative 4, negative 16. Okay, now you need to get rid of this 2. So you can't use this one anymore. If you use the top one, what you're going to do is you're going to create a new number up here. I don't want to do that. I have to use both of these. So in order to do that, I'm going to call this equation 4 and this equation 5. I'm going to multiply equation 4 by 2 and multiply equation 5 by negative 3 and add them together and put that down here. Okay, now I have in row echelon form. So that means z is 3, and back substituting I get 1, 2, 3. Okay, try this one, and when you're done, come back and take a look. All right, so I'm going to do the same steps as I did before. I want row echelon form. So I'm going to add the first 2 together, and I'm done with the equation 1 and equation 2. Now I have to get rid of 2 of these numbers here. So in order to get rid of this 2, I'm going to multiply the first one by negative 2 and add it to the bottom one. I get this. Then I need to get rid of this term here, so I'm going to add both of these together, right? If I add 4 and 5 together, I can get rid of that. So now I have 2, negative 1, and 1. Okay, here's example number 5. Okay, finish this and come back and check your work. And remember, you need to get at least 2 of these right. They're long and just takes practice. If you're not getting them right, you just didn't get enough practice. Okay, row echelon form. I'm going to get rid of these two over here, so it looks like I can multiply the first one by a -2 and add it to the second one. So I'm done with that one. Now I'm going to multiply the first one by a -1 and add it to the bottom one and get this down here. Okay, now to get rid of that 5, so I can just multiply the fourth one by a -1 and add it together. I get that. Now look what happened here. I get 0z is equal to -2. That means 0 is equal to -2. When is that going to happen? Never. This is one of those where there's no solution. Okay, that means that the planes don't intersect in one place. Somehow something's parallel or something unusual like that. Okay. Last one, number 6. Do this one, and when you're ready, unpause it and we'll come back. Okay, same steps as before, writing this out. You're going to need row echelon form, so we're going to go multiply the top one by -3, add it to the second one. Okay, and then multiplying the top one by -2 and adding it to the last one. And then obviously you can multiply this by a -2 and add it to the last one, and we get this, which gives me a 2 and -3 and 1 if you back substitute up to the top. Okay, Google form. Here are your equations for your Google form. If you're in honors, please stick around after the Google form. I'm going to talk about the non-square equations. This is number 1. Number 2 is, what is the first likely step in the Gaussian elimination? 3, what is the likely step in the Gaussian elimination for this one? And 4, which one is the most common thing you're going to do here? All right. And number 5, a system of 3 variables resulting in 3 planes that intersect in a line has how many solutions? You might go back to the beginning of the video. In number 6, solve this completely. All right. Non-square systems. This is for the honors. In a non-square system of equations, the number of equations differs from the number of variables. That means we have 3 variables and only 2 equations. That means we don't have enough to really completely solve this. So we're going to have to write our answer a little differently. Okay. So first, I'm going to try to figure something out. So we're going to multiply the first one by -2 and add it to the last one. I get this. And then solving for the second equation for y, I get this, dividing everything by a -3 and moving the z to the other side. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it back in here, and I get x minus 2 in my substitution here, and I solve for x, and I get this. Okay. So I get x is equal to z. So now my answer, since x is equal to z, I get to replace one of my variables with something like a different unknown. I'm going to call that a. So this is going to be a, and then y is going to be a minus 1. Right? And z is also a. Both z and x are both a, and the y is going to be a minus 1. And that's how we're going to write our answer, because we don't have enough information here to completely finish this. Now, what this really means is that for this non-square system, we have this kind of pattern. That means the numbers are always going to be a number, one less than that number, and that number again. So it's going to be 1, 0, 1. 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, and so on. So it's going to be a number, one less than that number, and that number again. So that's what that means here. All right, that's it. So we'll do some practice on that in class, and hopefully you'll master this. This is actually easier than solving the whole row echelon form. but it allows you to leave your equation almost finished. All right, thank you.